You're listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. I'm Josh, and sitting with me is
Justin.
Today, our episode is Unexpected, Season 1, Episode 5. The following information comes from Wikipedia. A synopsis: a ship feeding off Enterprise's warp field is exposed after the crew ignites the plasma exhaust. Commander Tucker visits the ship to help them repair their warp drive. After his return to Enterprise, he learns that he is pregnant. That's in quotes.
With child. Okay, also from Wikipedia, some of the details on the episode. Again, we are in Season 1, Episode 5. This is directed by Mike Vijar. I believe that's how you'd say it. Or Vihar.
Not Vijar?
Vijar Unit. No, yeah. Kirk Unit, maybe. The original air date was October 17th, 2001. Julianne Christie played Alen, and Randy Oglesby was Trenell? Sure. And some of the trivia on this episode, it does have a Klingon ship show up in it. This is, again, straight from Wikipedia. Staff member Andre Bormanis later explained that the inclusion of a Klingon battlecruiser design similar to what had been used previously in the franchise, as in time periods set later in the timeline, was to indicate the slow evolution of Klingon ship design. He compared this to the speed of changes seen in the rockets used by the Russian Space Agency, and said that the philosophy for the Klingons was that, quote, if the design works, why change it?
Well, this would be the first episode that I consider to be rewatchable. I don't know about you. What do you think?
Well, if you're going to put it like that, I guess that's a good way to put it. It is rewatchable. This, so far, 5 episodes deep, I would say was my most enjoyable episode.
For me, it was.
And the other episodes
Definitely.
were good. But that's a very good way to put it. It was rewatchable. I had a good time with this.
That's exactly what I thought when we came up to it, because I thought, oh, it's unexpected. I remember this one.
Yeah.
Because I've watched this several times.
I have too, in all fairness. I remembered most of the episode.
Yeah, and this isn't to slight the previous ones. They
Not
were
at all.
good.
Not at all.
But this one, it was light. It was funny.
It was amusing.
Cute.
It's one of those fun things that you, by and large, can only do in sci-fi.
Right.
And it was fun that it happened to Tucker, of all people.
Uh-huh.
You know, it was, and there was lots of little bits, I'm sure we'll talk about that play up the conceit with just the right amount of fun.
The conceit of him being
pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
While not going overboard.
They did push it a little too far.
Give me an example.
Well, by that I meant they chide him a little bit here and there. Archer does it. Who else were they having dinner with? Was it T'Pol?
T'Pol, and then the doctor at one point.
Another crew member comes in and overhears it. They tack it on a little heavy, but it is amusing. But
if you think about the fact that some time had passed, in the it had been like, I think probably close to 2 weeks that he was carrying this thing. Mm-hmm. If that's the only times they gave him crap, I mean, that's not really
it wasn't just that. That was an example. There was also, he's got a huge appetite. And this is.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do a pregnancy thing, of course, he's going to be emotional. Like he was crying in that one scene just a little bit. And they didn't shine too big of a light on it. He was
getting very,
he was getting upset.
Very safety conscious. He's he gets on the lift and he's like, these things it's going to chop your fingers off.
While that was funny, now that I felt maybe pushed it just a tad too far. But I still enjoyed the scene.
I actually thought that was funnier.
Did enjoy it.
Than him getting slightly mocked by his crew members. I thought that was a little.
I think
a little more.
The reality is that they would totally give him shit, and it was
and
they did it without being cruel or nasty. They were just playing with him, and he knew it, and I liked that it.
Do you think that line of dialogue, where he is standing in the lift and he tells so-and-so crew member, look at this is an accident waiting to happen. You put your hands here, you go up, it's going to take your fingers right off.
Right.
I wonder if there was a writer on set that was walking through the engine room set and looked up at it and thought, who the hell designed this thing? This is terrible. It's going to cut your fingers off if you actually used it.
Very possibly.
I gotta work that into a show.
I mean, that's an actual working elevator there in engineering. I'm sure the actors probably pointed out, be very careful. You could lose your fingers or something like that. And I'm sure the writers, whoever picked up on that, like, oh, we're going to put that in the episode. We're just going to wait for the right time.
It does seem excessive to have a lift in there.
Yeah. Why? Well, and it's very small too. It's not super practical.
It's not meant to carry any supplies or anything like that.
It's meant to slow as all hell. You're faster getting up those stairs.
It's meant to take people up and down, but they might as well just use a ladder at that rate.
Honestly. Make it a bigger platform.
I mean, what does it take you up? Like one level?
Yeah, just one. Like I said, you could walk up there faster. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's go back to the start of the episode. So they're cruising along, and I actually liked this. It doesn't last long. It's pretty much the teaser, but they're having these system failures throughout the ship, and they come to find out that there's a cloaked ship using something about their warp engine blah blahs, and they take a little, not a shot, but they shoot something at it, not meant to be harmful, that exposes the ship. And I thought that was a neat little idea, and I liked their exchange. Humans are friendly, these guys are friendly, and as soon as they worked out the translation matrix stuff, they just had a nice little chat. And, Tucker was invited over to help fix their problem. And I thought that was just nice. We've had enough bad guys for a minute. It was nice to run into a friendly species, and they have no nefarious whatsoever issues.
No nefarious intentions.
Nothing.
No.
They were just nice people. Mm-hmm. And this whole thing that happened was literally unexpected. But then I enjoyed the business of Trip acclimating to their atmosphere and how everything sounds off. He's kind of tripping a little bit, and they keep telling him, take a nap, buddy, take a nap. You'll be fine. We've gone through this before. And he just won't listen. And I don't know about you, man, but watching Trip do what he did, where he's calling Archer every 3 seconds. How long's it been? And then I've been in here. Then he's calling him up. I don't feel good. I want to come home. No, it's fine. No, I'm telling you, I'm broken, and all that. I thought, oh boy, this is what I sound like. This is what a hypochondriac sounds like. It was surreal and almost sickening in the sense that I knew exactly what this character was feeling. He was sure he was dying. And his buddy, his captain, was like, you're fine. Everyone said you're fine. Just take a bloody nap. And he had to be ordered to do it, and then it was fine. I liked that little bit. And, that was something, a bit of business. They didn't have to do that to make the episode happen. I don't, however that came about in the writer's room, and that accounted to probably 5 minutes worth of screen time of him acclimating. He walks out into the room after doing, what do you call it? Decompression. And already he's feeling off, but he says, let me, take me to your engine. They go to do that. He's looking at a little bit. They would have had that scene just play straight, but they decided to give him this little issue for a few minutes. And I just think that was a stroke of brilliance, in my opinion. It just made what would have been standard Star Trek business interesting. And the kind of interesting thing that, frankly, you really don't get in Star Trek. Just like the Universal Translator, even in TOS, these things just work and there's never any problems. You and I talked about this with Strange New World, the episode Strange New World, that they wouldn't be so stupid as to just walk onto this planet without having scanned certain things and all that. And look, bad things happen. And we talked about how that never happened on TNG. It never happened on TOS and all that stuff. And this is the kind of thing that could happen. He did decompression. He did that. But there was something else about their environment that he just needed to slow down. And he learned his lesson. And I just thought it was fun. Thankfully, it was a harmless thing, but it was fun. I enjoyed that. I wish they did more stuff like that.
I think it was important to Trip's character arc in this episode, if you want to call it that. I don't think it was wholly unnecessary. If that sequence wasn't there of him acclimating, I think we would feel different about his experience on that ship. Think about it. He goes from a very familiar place to a very alien place, quite literally. So I think going through that disorientation with him and then being brought out of it with him losing his sense of equilibrium almost. That will open up his perceptions, his senses, and then he'll be able to better take in all of this alien world that he's about to experience.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. It also, of course, has the added effect of after it's done and he's, he woke up from his nap and she's sort of nursing him back to health with those little liquid jellos. It's a bonding moment for them. And so giving us a few minutes, and they did decompression. You just never see that in Star Trek. So they did the decompression and then this. Just to add to the whole thing being alien, which again I really dug. But as far as his disorientation, I suppose it does serve a story function in the sense, like I said, that she nurses him back so they bond, right?
Yes, you mentioned specifically, nurses him back to health. Yes, because he becomes reliant upon her, and that helps their relationship blossom.
Yes.
For lack of a better word.
Well, it brings them close.
Well, since he does become dependent upon her, he develops an attraction towards her as well.
Right.
Which is, it's obvious where it's going. The alien makeup was very good.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm surprised they went so far, given that they were going to have this, quasi relationship.
Right. But she had a sultry.
She had a cuteness to her anyway. Even though she looked like Grigg from her last.
She did look like Grigg a little bit, but she had very penetrating eyes.
Yes, and her voice was nice.
She was very empathetic,
and she was tiny,
and nurturing.
Yeah. All that smart choices.
I think this was a really good episode for Trip. Yes. I really like Trip as a character. I mean, he was getting his footing in the episodes previous to this one.
We've talked about that.
And in this one, it was finally nice to see him and a lighter side, a nicer side of Trip.
This felt more like the Trip that we know as the series progresses. I think this finally allowed him where he wasn't batting up against someone, which basically those first set of episodes, they just gave him that part to fight someone all the time. But now he was more relaxed. He was outside of what happened at the very beginning. He was in his environment as far as being an engineer. Yes, he's in an alien environment and he's seeing new things, but it's all new and fascinating. It's the best of everything for him. He gets to use his skills, gets to meet new aliens, gets to see new technology. I mean, he's in heaven. This is what they thought beaming down to the planet in Strange New World was going to be like. Only now it was really nice. And it was fun to see him for a moment be the master of his domain, giving out orders. Okay, do this to fix the engine. And then also his little trip out in the beginning made him a little more human, made him sympathetic. And then to see his wonder at the new holodeck technology he was seeing, all of that was all wonderful. And then when he gets back to the ship and he finds the nipple and he goes to sick bay, I really enjoyed how that scene played out. First of all, just with the doctor with the nipple and the way Phlox, he's trying to be delicate because he knows after one scan, he's like, oh boy, and he's got to drop this news on him. And then the subsequent scene that follows with Archer and T'Pol there, where they're saying, Trip, did you do anything on that alien ship? No, I didn't, I swear. It's like this comedy of errors with them not believing him.
I thought the funniest part in that scene between the three of them wasn't Archer, but it was T'Pol. T'Pol was really digging into him.
She was riding him.
And he one of his responses was, I assure you I was a total gentleman.
Yeah.
And then her response was, well, that depends. How do you define gentleman, Trip? Of course, she didn't say it like that. She said it in her Vulcan tone.
But she's saying, you were there for 2
days.
And she's all, could you do nothing else? And every shot she could take, and Archer just kind of sits back and lets her do it. Lets her do it.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a little shot at him, just a little more so with looks than anything else, and just lets T'Pol ride him. And that, if they had gone probably one comment more with T'Pol, I think they probably would have been pushing it, because it seemed obvious that even to T'Pol, she was just giving him shit. Nothing was going to come of this. He wasn't going to be court-martialed or anything. She just saw this as a wonderful chance to give this guy crap in a very Vulcan way.
Well, he did just point a phaser at her in the previous episode.
That's true.
Maybe she wanted to get him back a little
and
bit.
she almost didn't look like T'Pol for a minute. Like, she looked like she was on the verge of smiling as she was saying this stuff.
Almost.
Just barely. She just contained it. But that definitely caught my attention. But I loved that scene. That was a great scene.
I think one of my favorite scenes was that scene in the holodeck. Well, the aliens holodeck.
Right.
Yeah, I liked Alen. That scene really hooked it for me. But we also get to see the Klingons.
We do. I was just going to bring that up. So once these aliens have their engine fixed, they leave, and it's only after that Trip realizes he's expecting.
Right.
And they go to track them, which ultimately leads them to the Klingons.
Because they're now in the wake of the Klingon ship using their warp plasma.
They're doing the same trick because their engine
They're
broke
hitchhiking.
again. Yeah, they're hitchhiking invisibly.
And the Klingon ship looks exactly like every other Klingon ship we ever see
it's,
for the next 100 years.
Well, actually, it is and it isn't.
It looks very similar.
It's a D7.
Yeah.
But it's not a TOS D7. It's a motion picture D7. It's got all that detail. Mm-hmm. On TOS, they were low res, basically. But, I mean, that's hardly a nitpick I care about. You could argue that the fancier D7 was out there, and, there was two versions of that. Technically speaking, there's two versions of the Birds of Prey, but they look identical. One's just bigger than the other.
The interaction they had when they first hailed the Klingons.
Sure. Yeah, I have some thoughts. Yeah.
I thought that Hoshi would be the one talking to them, like their universal translator wouldn't be active right away.
It must have gotten enough information when they got to
because they were
Kronos.
speaking Well, we heard English, right? So I assumed, oh, wait, do they have it turned on already on this one? I
would assume at this point they've absorbed enough Klingon, especially when they went to the High Council chamber and all that. That was no doubt recorded.
Okay.
So they had enough info to build a database to do that.
Well, I like the interaction with the Klingons. They were believably brash and
right. Their first thought
forceful.
Is Archer. He realizes who he's dealing with, and he tries to very delicately tell them, just FYI, guys, there's this hidden ship, and it's kind of messing up your ship. Shoot at it immediately! And they fire on it, and they lock it in a tractor beam super fast, and they're all business. And they're perfect. And the captain even gives an order, the Klingon captain, execute the crew and bring me the captain of their ship and all that. He said that? Something like that. Okay. He basically said, kill everyone and bring me one guy to tell me what's going on. And Archer's like, whoa, they're cool, and all that. And he talks them down. I did enjoy that. This is totally nitpicky, and I know this.
Okay. But
when you see Klang in the first episode, Klang is so alien. It's not just the way it's not that he speaks Klingon the whole time. We never hear him through a translator speak English, Klang. And he's a brute. He's just this clearly huge force that is all about being tough. These guys, their words are Klingon, but they did seem a little casual, sort of. Maybe it was the way they were lit or something. There was something slightly less threatening about them.
It was the way they were shot.
Yeah.
They weren't shot to be imposing.
No, they weren't.
And that's the fault of...
I wish they had done
the way
that.
They framed them.
Their actions were totally Klingon.
Absolutely.
But when they get to the ship, when they actually go on with Trip and all that, they're a little too soft. I think they should have, just to keep the Klingon mystique up, they should have been, here's our planet information, do it now or I'll kill you, or whatever. Something. They get too soft too fast.
I think that would have been a bit too much for this rather lighthearted episode.
I know what you mean, and I don't want to necessarily fault the episode for it.
Because up to this point, it's been relatively light and funny.
Yeah.
So...
Or maybe just don't have them talk much at all. Just have them be
I wouldn't want the thought of them actually killing these people to creep into my mind.
No, I know. But, there's a point, I think it's once they've done their business on the ship and they're communicating on the view screen again, he tells Archer, all right, they gave us their stuff. They're free to go. I'll let them go. I believe him. Klingons, generally speaking, if that's an honor thing. He said that's what he would do, and I believe he meant it. So once they're off the ship and that was all done, I felt there was no threat. And once they were on the ship, that these Trip tells the aliens, totally give them what they want. This is all going to work out. It's all fine. I just would have liked a little less human in the way they were performed. That's all. It's a nitpick. But just have them be a little more stoic. That's all. Outside of what they said, because their dialogue was Klingon, their actions were Klingon. Just have it be a little more.
Did you think that joke, "I can see my house from here," was
a little
too much?
Yeah, that was definitely a joke for the audience.
It made me laugh.
Yeah, it did. But maybe that's one of those.
I can see my house from here.
Maybe he shouldn't have said house. Maybe they should.
I can see my control from here.
Something. Yeah, and we would know what that meant.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Just like how we were saying in one of the other episodes, there's certain things like they seldom ever say the words mom or dad. They say mother and father to separate it. And a Klingon would not say, "I can see my house from here." But if he said, "I can see my Joshlof from here," you know exactly what it means, and it would still be funny.
Yeah, but why wouldn't that one word be translated out of all the other?
I don't know, and I don't care. I wouldn't care.
I suppose.
As long as I don't hear the word house coming out of his mouth.
They can't say house in the 24th century?
Would a Klingon?
Would a human?
A human would.
They would say house?
I think so. But they don't. You never hear them say that. They usually, if they go to a planet, it's my home is over here. No one says house, if you notice that. That's another one of those terms that's avoided, even by humans. Because we never see humans go to a house in Star Trek. They don't go to houses, ever. They're in their quarters. They're on a ship.
In ready rooms and
if
rooms,
they're on Earth,
bridges.
They don't go to they've never gone to someone's house. They've gone to Kirk's apartment, but they've never gone to a house.
Never?
Never. Not a human house.
Not once?
Not to my knowledge.
Not even in the original series?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
In fact, I can't even, aside from them going back in time and going to Earth, I don't think they ever went to Earth in TOS. Outside of going back in time like Gary 7 or Tomorrow Was Yesterday. I think. And TNG went to Earth, of course. So did DS9. But no one went to anyone's house.
Okay,
and convenient that Cisco's dad lived upstairs.
I'll concede the point. I can't think of one.
Yeah. So. I mean, hey, if anyone's listening, if they know, drop it in a comment or something. Send us an email.
Well, I think that's just about all I have to say about this. Unless you had more.
Honestly, all good things. I mean, the thing about the Klingons was, and I said at the start, was just a nitpick. It's nothing that hurt the episode. I quite enjoyed it. I would totally watch it again, in the near future.
I had some nitpicks too, but
give me some of yours just so I can hear it.
No, I already told you.
Oh, well, fine.
Like I thought some of the mocking of Trip went on a little too long, but and it was a little cliche. But other than that, it didn't hurt the episode that much. I rather enjoyed it. It's light and fun.
It is light and fun. And do you think it would maybe have been a little nice, a little sweet? Because I like the little scene where he finally gets back to the ship and he shows the girl that he's got the bulge thing. And she scans, she's in great health and all of that. Oh, it's a girl. And they both look at their version
baby
of
monitor.
Their version of like an ultrasound.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting because I didn't remember every detail of this episode. I was half expecting Trip to say something like, "When we leave, send me some pictures from time to time," or something like that. They made it clear, and this was a very important thing that they did drop in a dialogue line, which was he was merely a host. This was not a mix of their DNA. Flock said that. It's all her. The males just carry it. That's it. That way Trip does not actually have a
So he's
offspring.
not a deadbeat dad.
Yeah. But it's still, he did carry it for a few minutes. And
Yeah. Well, a couple of days.
Yeah. If I were him, I'd be like, hey, send us pictures once in a while. Just because, hey, I carried a little alien baby for a minute, Just what would have been a cute little thing. Nothing that the episode needed, just a fun little thing.
Yeah, it would have been a good line, I think, if he said something like that.
Yeah, and after all, they point out to Trip that, of course, to Paul points it out, that she checked the database, and in fact, he is the first human male to ever carry a baby.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, great way to go down in the history books.
Well, also to be impregnated by an alien species too, right?
Yeah, both.
Yeah. Oh, that was the joke. He said, "Oh yeah, that's how
I'm
we
gonna
end up
make
in
it
history books."
Yep.
Right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or
No, I would say that was about it.
What's your grade?
Oh, I was going to ask you that. All right. I was thinking about it. I'm going to go ahead and give this an A. Not an A minus, not an A plus, an A. It was a good, solid episode. None of the nitpicks I mentioned really affect that grade at all. This was exactly what it intended to be. It was fun. It was lighthearted. I was entertained the whole time. I enjoyed the guest actors, the captain and the woman. And Trip finally gets to be a little more Trip. And the character interplays were a lot of fun. Nothing felt forced other than to Paul seeming ever so slightly to be ribbing him too much, but it worked. They took it just to the height that you could take it. So yeah, I'm going to give that a solid A. What about you?
Well, that surprised me because I did not expect you to give a grade that high. I thought it was going to be in the B range.
Well, I've been giving B's to the ones before that.
That's true. I'm going to give it a B plus. I thought it was
generous.
I think that's what it deserves.
Okay.
It's well above average. The B is stamping it's good. Plus is it went a little extra and gave us something a bit more, which comes from the humor and from the guest stars. And I think the Klingons too, like they got to have a little bit of a little bit of fun with them, but also to remind us that the Klingons are there,
right?
And they are a threat,
and they are going to run into them soon.
Yes. So for those reasons, and for the ones that you,
well, I have to ask you then, what for you would have brought this episode to an A minus, A or plus?
Oh my God, putting me on the spot. I have no idea.
I honestly thought you were going to give it an A or an A minus.
I think to go into A territory, I would have to rework maybe the first act, maybe the first or second. It was a little slow to build.
Okay.
They're dealing with some errors on the ship, and then they find this other ship, and then he goes through acclimation, and it kind of goes on for a little bit. There's not much. The story isn't progressing very much, so it kind of slows the pace down.
Well, I think that's why adding those extra bits made it interesting for me.
What? Oh, you mean him having a hard time?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant. That included. Okay. If there was something involved also with the story in those scenes as well, so it wasn't just that happening. It might have made those scenes a little bit more interesting and maybe added more drama to what was happening. Not that what they did was bad. I'm just saying that it didn't bring it up to A territory for me.
Okay. All right.
Anything else you want to
add? No. I would say that was it. I'll say it again if it's not already clear. Oh no, we said it. So far, what is this? Episode 5?
Uh-huh.
This has been the best episode of the season so far.
I agree. Like I said at the top, this is one I rewatch.
Yeah.
So I obviously like it.
I remember, like you said, although I do remember Strange New World, I remembered that fairly accurately before we got
I remembered that a little bit as I started to watch it, but that was only because, well, I hadn't watched it that many times before, right. But maybe once or twice. But this one, because it's funny, I like to go back to it. Phlox telling him, "You're pregnant," that goofy grin he gives him. It's funny. And seeing him look at the nipple on his, I got another one,
That's a nipple. He tries to break it to him softly, but he's I think he even said, right, I don't know how to tell you this. That's a nipple, buddy. Mm-hmm. What?
All right. We'll see you in the next one.
All right.